there's this here, that hatch is open. Look at this, look at that. This stuff's fallen out. And we come back up, and after a very long deco, we're back on, and I open the camera, and every time I thought I'd turned it on, I turned it off. So the bulk of the footage actually is that thing clipped to my belt, filming my crotch during the entire deco.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just me or not, but I also find as you get older, you seem to get narked worse. I,
Yeah, yeah. So no, we did enough of that. I mean, summers. I mean, we're basically that was about 110, 120. But no, bikini. They were all. We didn't. We always looked out for safari syndrome. We also staged it. One day after we'd gone lower, we'd be up, say, at the flight deck of Saratoga, which is half the depth. That kind of thing. Or we'd be up on the superstructure, and that going inside the bridge or Admiral's Bridge, or that kind of thing.
very cool. Yeah, I've had Peter Mesley on who's dove at bikini a bunch of times. So,
Yeah, no, he's great. What they do is wonderful.
oh yeah, yeah. I'm hoping to actually do a Truk Lagoon trip with him at some point.
Oh yeah, no, those guys, those wrecks as well. So very well dived, and yet they keep adding more to the understanding that we have of them.
Yeah, which is amazing. I mean, you've obviously dove in bikini, correct? I imagine.
I've dove in bikini, but I've never dove
Or
at truck or chuk.
truck. Sorry. Oh, you
No,
haven't dove truck. Really?
no, no. The opportunity never really came up. Bikini was there because it wasn't open, and the first time we went with the Navy. We went with mobile diving salvage unit guys and explosive ordnance demolition guys, because all the ships carried munitions. These guys had to gag a few bombs, fuses, after we encountered them. Ultimately, when I came back, I said, "Hey guys, we did a little more work in the archives, and look what's stenciled on the side of the bomb," and they all laughed because it said "inert." So, but not all of them were.
Yeah.
So, but no, bikini just was nobody'd been. We were the first to dive it, other than a handful of people and the Navy scientific resurveys.
Which is really cool. Um,
Yeah.
so tell me, since you worked with Mike and Warren for so long on the Sea Hunters, you gotta have a funny story to tell me about Mike and Warren. There has to have been something major funny. Okay, I can tell from the grin you got something.
I think that the funniest story is basically when we're all together as a team, and this is about two-thirds of the way through the years of the run, and we were all beginning to understand that we weren't just being watched in Canada, but it had gone globally to like 140 other countries.
Yeah.
So we're in Panama, and we're in a boat coming back from diving this early 1860s submarine that sticks out at low tide. And we're approaching this tiny little village at the edge of the Islas Perlas in the Bahia de Panama. And all the kids suddenly start chanting on the beach, Canal Cinco, Canal Cinco, Canal Cinco. And the boys are like, huh? And I said, Channel 5. And they look at each other, and they look at me, and they look at the other, and they go. And with that, it's like, wow, I guess people are watching. But the fact that here all these kids were watching, that was pretty cool. And so it's not a funny story in a haha kind of way. It was a funny story in a profound way, but also just to see the look on those two guys' faces. because I'm sure as I was looking at theirs, they were looking at mine as well, going, there were so many great times that we had together. I mean, obviously, we're traveling together. There are times I'm sure some of us would just sort of go like, okay, you've said that before, or where's my dive gear? But no, I think the most important thing that all of us had came away from this was that we were really a family. And working with those guys and the others, absolutely. And I'd be remiss if I didn't just say that not too terribly long ago, we lost John Davis, who had created that series and that we'd worked with. And John, of course, was a character in those first seasons. He passed. They had a memorial service for him that I could not make because I was far, far away. He lived, of course, still out there in Nova Scotia. But no, I look back on those times in the sea hunting days with a great deal of happiness, pride that we're able to do something and to represent, and to be a bunch of Canadians out there practicing what we preached in terms of Cussler used to say, now it's your turn to get out there, to get up off that couch, go out in the mountains, the deserts, the oceans, and search for history. There's nothing better. We got to do that thanks to Clive and John and the incredible spirit of teamwork, the brothers like those guys, all that team that I worked with, and the women too, the brothers and the sisters that made Sea Hunters happen.
What's your most memorable thing about Clive that you can tell me? There we go again.
Cussler and the wives, we're all on a ship sailing in the South Pacific, and we go to Pitcairn. And we land, and he's thinking he's going to be incognito. He's Clive Cussler. And so he and I were walking up the trail, and this big guy comes up. His name was Pirate Pete. And Pete says, "Is that Clive Cussler?" And I went, "Yeah." So he says, "Hold on." And I said, "Hey, Clive, hang on a second." And this guy runs back, and he comes back with this really much beaten paperback. I can't remember which title it was. And he goes, "Would you sign this?" And ordinarily, you know, I'm sure Clive's been presented to people that are like, here's a pristine book, never read. He looks at it and he goes, "I'd love to." Because it had been well loved and read by many people on this island. And so and that was one of the most fun moments of all, where just the look on Cussler's face was like,
well, I guess, especially since you're in Pitcairn, which is like about as remote as you can get.
Yeah.
So what's it like to visit Pitcairn?
It was amazing. And first, it's not easy to get there. I'm not just talking about the long sail. It's just landing, because that opens swell. When we left, our Zodiac was like this. But it's a stage upon which an incredible human drama played out, not just with the mutineers landing and establishing the community, but what happened afterwards, and so on. I mean, Pitcairn has a very difficult human history, so you're seeing all of that, but you're meeting the people, and you can see you're actually there where Fletcher Christian was, where Adams, where all these guys were, plus the Polynesians, and you see that not only in the place itself, but in the people. It's one of the more profound places I've visited of many.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, cool. Well, thank you very much for coming on today. I really appreciate you having on the podcast. It has been amazing to finally meet you and talk to you.
Likewise.
And maybe I can get you on again sometime at some point since you're retired.
Yeah.
And thank you everybody for watching the Deadfoot Diver podcast, and remember, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.